So now that we've covered some of the Amazon Fire TV's accessibility features, let's see them in action when browsing web content. We'll start up the Amazon Silk web browser. Now, by default, if I'm using the remote control, if I use the directional keys, you will see that I'm moving the on-screen cursor, the equivalent to a mouse pointer. If I go further down on the page, it starts scrolling. I can go all the way back to the top. Once I'm in the top bar, I can use the control to move between the address bar, refresh, menu, private browsing, request desktop sites, and add bookmark. And if I move back down, I'm back to using the on-screen cursor. If we have a paired Bluetooth keyboard, we can also use the cursor keys on the keyboard itself to move the cursor. So here I'm using cursor up, down, left, right, and you'll see it does the same as with the standard Fire remote. However, I can also, similar to what I can do on desktop, use Tab and Shift Tab to move from one focusable item to the other. So in that sense, it's very similar to the experience you would already know from desktop navigation. And again, using Enter or Space to activate things. Now, let's see how it works in combination with the accessibility features we saw earlier. So first of all, let's see if we can turn on the Voice View screen reader.
Voice view ready. Address bar tetralogical.com. Select to edit.
So now we've started up Voice View and we can navigate through the web page in Amazon Silk using screen reader access effectively.
Menu button. Enter private. Request desktop. Add bookmark button. Connection is secure button. Tetralogical. Link visited. Skip to content. Link. Tetralogical. About. Service. Blog. Link. Services. About. Accessibility specialists.
So I can use the up and down cursor keys to change granularity, which kind of element I'm trying to read through. So I can go, for instance, just heading by heading.
List item. List. Form control. Link. Heading.
And now if I'm using left and right, it will jump from one heading to the next.
Website. Main. About tetralogical. Heading 1. Section. Navigation. Our principles. Heading 2.
It will also include some containers, some landmarks. So not quite heading-based navigation, but close enough.
We like to listen. Heading 2. Footer. We like to listen. Our principles. Section. About tetralogical. Main.
By default, when navigating through web content in Silk, Voice View will be in review mode. I can turn review mode off.
Review mode off.
And now I can use
Our team. Link. 1 of 3. Our impact. Link. 2 of 3.
Tab and Shift Tab. I can go from one link to the other, from one focusable element to the other, and Voice View will track that as well.
Our UX network. Link. 3 of hello at tetralogical.com button.
So we see here we're jumping between links, between buttons, but that only seems to work when you're not in review mode. Let's turn Voice View back off.
Voice view exiting.
I don't want to exit Silk, so let's stay here. So now we're back to just navigating without Voice View. Next up, let's turn Text Banner on. And we get the Text Banner tutorial explaining the keyboard shortcuts. Let's OK that. So the experience with Text Banner when using the on-screen cursor, it tries to show in the text banner whatever text content is currently underneath the cursor itself. So here we see if I move it over this heading, we like to listen, it will find that and show it in the text banner. If I go to the sentence straight after it, it will show that sentence in the text banner as well. If it's a large paragraph, it will start showing the beginning of it, and I can then use the fast forward and rewind keys to show more of that content. If I'm navigating with the keyboard, the experience is similar. It will move, if I'm using Tab and Shift Tab in this case, whatever I'm currently focused on, it will show the text content of that particular element that I'm focused on in the text banner window at the bottom of the screen. And lastly, let's turn on screen magnification. Again, we get a dialog showing us the keyboard shortcuts. Let's just OK that. And yes, we're staying in Silk. Now, by default, again, we're navigating here with the cursor keys and we're moving the on-screen cursor. The screen magnifier tries as much as it can to keep the cursor in view. However, its implementation is a little bit janky. There are situations where it's possible to end up with the cursor being completely outside of the magnified view. Like in this case, you have to explicitly move the magnified view. You need to pan around the screen to try and find out where your cursor actually is. There it is. Not helped by the fact that the cursor disappears after a while if you don't move it. However, the implementation is a lot smoother if we're actually navigating with a keyboard. So if I'm using Tab and Shift Tab, we see that I'm moving my focus between the various focusable elements on the page, and the screen magnifier does actually do a reasonably good job trying to keep the currently focused item in view in the magnified view itself, without the need to manually pan around the page to try and find out where I'm currently focused. And there we have it. A short overview of how to browse web content, specifically in Amazon Silk, using the accessibility features of the Amazon Fire TV.